G'day tinfoilers, this is a first-hand account of Australia's elite private parties involving satanic rituals. It has kid sacrifice, ceremony, blood ritual, sex orgies, eating babies and adrenochrome. All the stuff we used to laugh at and make fun of, well, it's talked about here in 1985. Fiona Barnett, witness to the town of Bathurst, a regional hub somewhere farmers would send their kids to board for schooling run by the church. Well, the ceremony involves two very prominent Australian figures. The late Richie Benaud, a test cricketer who went on to have a stellar TV commentating career, and the late Kim Beazley, senior government minister of, not surprisingly, education, two very powerful men.
Beazley was up commentating, presiding over things. When they dragged onto stage, they dragged a heavily pregnant woman and she was screaming her head off because she wasn't drugged and she wasn't unethically hypnotised. It was horrendous. So there's adrenaline going through her system and adrenaline going through her body, and she's heavily pregnant and naked, and she had a brown bowler haircut. And she's one of the what they call a breeder. And she's used just for breeding, for these rituals and for child sex trafficking. And they lay her down, and the head for a sacrifice is always here, so they're and the feet's that end. Beazley's over here, and he goes to us, I'll never forget this, he goes, excuse us for a minute, and everyone laughs. Because they had two big security guards dragging her onto stage and they needed extra help, so the cop, he used what he knows about holding people down, and the four of them pin her down, and they're holding her legs and her arms and whatever, shoulders, and then Benno has a ceremonial dagger, and he does his usual crap, you know, they worship their gods, you know, Baal, Lucifer, hail Satan, son of the morning, and then he has this knife and he slams it after he's done all his ritualistic sort of chanting and words and whatever, and people are chanting or whatever. And he slams this dagger, ceremonial dagger, two hands, into the woman's, where the bone ends, and he can get in, and he tears her open with the knife right down to the pelvic bone, and blood just pisses out everywhere. It's like a waterfall and just everything. And then they pull the baby out. And then there are people assisting, and they've got a gold platter, and they've got a chalice, and they collect the blood of the baby. They drain the baby's blood in the chalice, and then they chop the baby up and put it on the gold platter, and then they pass it around for Holy Communion. So it's the black mass, the real typical old-fashioned black mass that the Catholic mass is based on, right? The Catholic mass the Latin mass is a sanitised version of this. There's nothing Christian about Catholic mass. So that's all going on, and then the next thing I remember is they lined up. This stage was lined with children who must have been about maybe 8, 9, 10 years of age, that sort of thing. And they had them lined up like this on the stage. They went like this, and they lined the children up. And the children were hypnotised. And the children came forward and they were like this. They were just like this. They just, as they were told, they did nothing and they just stared straight ahead. And they're very attractive children. Had a samurai sword. It was incredibly sharp. And he's crap. He doesn't have any style about him, but the basic thing is he goes along, each child, and he has a certain stance about him, and he slices off the heads of each child. I don't know if he turns or I can't remember what he does, but then he, goes along and, like this, and he goes along and chops off each head. And each kid falls, the body just falls, and blood is going everywhere. I mean, if you DNA tested this area, there would have to be remains of someone's blood and DNA in here. There would have to be somewhere. Then they break out into a bloodied orgy. Now these people, the whole point behind doing the, having the woman not drugged and not hypnotised is to pump as much adrenaline through her blood as possible, because these people are addicted to adrenaline. And when they drink the blood, it's, the baby's blood, the baby's in distress, so it passes on somehow to the kid. And that's why they, have this sort of situation going on, and they collected some other blood from her or something, on the way. But at the end, I was over here, and a bloody orgy broke out, and everyone started having sex. They're sexually aroused by this stuff. You've got to understand that they are sexually aroused by this crap. And I go down. By now, I was over there, but they kind of clear the floor, and I don't know, everyone's just having sex with people, and Kim Beasley Senior was down here, and I was there, and he came down, and he picked up a head of one of the kids that had dark hair, and I'm standing here, and Beasley picks up this head, and he shoves it in my face, like this, and there's this decapitated head in my face, and he says, "Take ye, eat." And he made me take a bite out of the face. And then everyone just had an orgy. It was just disgusting. And the most vile thing you've ever seen in your life. And that's Bathurst City Hall.